Graphing y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. To introduce us to this picture, to introduce us to this topic, we have a Lego tribute to the late Stephen Hawking. When you are graphing y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, it forms a parabola, and that parabola has some certain characteristics. Firstly, if your a value, that lead coefficient, is positive, your parabola opens upward. If it's negative, it opens downward. The basic function y equals x squared, your graph narrows if the absolute value of a is greater than 1. So if you've got an a value of 5, or if you have an a value of negative 19, your parabola is going to get skinnier. If your absolute value of a is less than 1, it gets fatter. So if you've got y equals 1/3 x squared, or y equals negative 1/5 x squared, those are both going to be wider. Your axis of symmetry. This is part of your quadratic formula, the opposite of b over 2a. That's going to tell us where our line of symmetry is, where you can fold your parabola in half. And that's also the x part of your coordinate. So you can see that starting to show up over here. This red line is our axis of symmetry with an x value of the opposite of b over 2a. Point C is your y-intercept, just like it was in our y equals mx plus b. Your constant is your y-intercept. So 0c is on the parabola, and x equals the opposite of b over 2a is your x value for your vertex, that highest point or lowest point on your parabola. So if we've got y equals 3x squared plus 12x minus 8, we're first going to look at the axis of symmetry. So I've got the opposite of x equals the opposite of b over 2a. So here's my b value, and here's my a value. So for number 1, the opposite of b, so negative 12 over 2 times a. Well, a is 3. Negative 12 over 2 times 3 is 6, or negative 2. So that means my axis of symmetry would be at the line x equals negative 2. So something like this would be my axis of symmetry. For the vertex, I know my x value is negative 2. I'm going to substitute that back in everywhere I have an x to find my y value. So I've got y equals 3 times negative 2 squared plus 12 times negative 2 minus 8. Negative 2 squared is 4, so I've got 3 times 4 plus 12 times negative 2 minus 8. So I've got 12 plus negative 24 minus 8. 12 and negative 24 is going to be negative 12 and negative 20. So that means when my x value is negative 2, my y value is negative 20. So I've got the ordered pair negative 2, negative 20 for my vertex. So we'll pretend that's way down here. Since my a value here is positive, that means my parabola is going to open upward. To graph y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, first draw an axis of symmetry, which we just looked at. Second, you're going to plot your vertex, which again we just looked at on the last page. Our third step, we're going to choose two x values less than or two x values greater than your vertex and find y. Then you'll plot those ordered pairs. So when you do that, you're just going to have half of your parabola graphed, but since we have an axis of symmetry, we know that those points will be reflected over your axis of symmetry. So we'll reflect those points and draw our parabola. So graphing y equals 2x squared minus 8x plus 7. Our first step is to find our axis of symmetry. Still got the highlighter. So that's x equals the opposite of b over 2a. So x equals the opposite of b, so that's a positive 8 over 2 times a. 2 times 2 is 4. And 8/4 is 2. So my axis of symmetry is going to be on this vertical line of x equals 2. Now I'm going to put 2 in everywhere I have an x. So I'm going to erase so I have some room here. So I've got y equals 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 7. And if I start crunching that out, that's going to give me 8 minus 16 plus 7, or negative 8 plus 7, and negative 1. So my vertex, since I substituted in a 2 for x, is the ordered pair 2, negative 1. So I'm going to go over 2, down 1, and there's my vertex. Now I'm going to pick some ordered pairs, or some x values to substitute in. So let's highlighter again. So I've got 2 for my x value. I'm going to choose 1 and 0 because those are pretty easy numbers to substitute in. If I put in 1 for all of my x's, 1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. So that's 2 minus 8 times 1 is 8, then plus 7. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 7 is 1. So the ordered pair 1, 1 is on my parabola. If I put in 0, that's going to be really pretty easy because 0 makes that go away, and all I'm left with is 7. So the ordered pair 0, 7 is also on my parabola. I'm going to reflect that over my axis of symmetry. So I'm 1 point away here, so I'm going to go 1 away on the other side. I'm 1, 2 away here, so 1, 2 away on the other side. And then our last step is to draw our parabola. I usually start with the vertex and kind of round it out at the bottom and then just extend up. You're going to have one homework problem for tonight, and that's y equals 3x squared plus 6x plus 4. So again, just like the steps talked about before, you need to find your axis of symmetry, you need to find your vertex, you need to graph some points either to the left or to the right of your axis of symmetry, reflect those, and draw your parabola. Good luck, and we'll talk about it tomorrow.